Let's get your imagination fired up. Let's picture something real quick. Imagine you and a giant single file line of people are trekking through the desert. You've been walking all day, the sun is beating down on you and sweat is pouring from your body. And the only thing that you have in your arms is a towel. And the only thing keeping you going is the thought of water. Now hearing that, you might think I'm talking about like a trek through Egypt or something, but what I'm actually talking about is the shower lines at Coachella. Coachella, the music festival that got founded because a bunch of guys saw the Colorado desert and said, oh my God, it would be really cool if we put a Ferris wheel here. The festival that started in 1999 almost died out the next year and became a national hit the year after. It is a huge, if not the biggest event for music enjoyers. A compilation of some of the biggest artists in music right now and some of the smaller ones performing in this oasis-style resort in the middle of the Colorado desert. You have people like Travis Scott. You have people like Clairo. You have people that you probably forgot they still make music. All of the world's favorite artists in one central place, and you can go there for the low price of $5,000 to $15,000. Well, yes, Coachella is known for being one of the biggest music festivals ever. It's also known for having college tuition level prices if you want to go for both weekends. It's no surprise and it's not hidden that Coachella is probably one of the most expensive music festivals that is held. And even less of a surprise is how crazy the conditions are there. I'm talking about spending $1,000 on a camping spot, bringing your own equipment, having to spend an hour and a half waiting for a shower, all with food and drink costs being above like $30 a piece. And that's not even including the ticket prices. Those are a completely separate thing you have to purchase. And then obviously if you're not about that camping life, you can move up a few tiers and spend increasingly more expensive amounts of money to stay in a bigger tent, or a cabin, or a camper van if you have $10,000. And on top of that, if you don't live in California, you have to travel there. For people that don't just have briefcases of cash lying around, this festival is a very, very hard thing to do. So let's talk a little bit why Coachella has become so exclusive and why it's getting less and less obtainable to make it there. My name's Henry, I love music, this is where I talk about it. If it's your first time watching, welcome. I am not good at intros, so we're just gonna keep on moving. I upload once a week, subscribe, like the video. I don't think there's anything else you can do. Let's go. I wanna start off by saying that none of the criticisms I'm about to say about Coachella are directed towards any of the performers or the artists there. That might be a sort of redundant thing to say, but they obviously have no control over the conditions of the actual living situation. And it's still one of the biggest honors in a musician's career to be able to play at Coachella. I also don't want any of this to come off as like, I don't like music festivals. I think music festivals are one of the best ways for people to experience a bunch of artists at once without having to wait for them all to go on tour. Think of it as like the Costco of concerts. You're paying more because you're buying in bulk, but you're getting more value. That was a really good analogy. Festivals like Camp Flog Gnaw, Lollapalooza, while still expensive, I think are still a good experience. But Coachella, what have they done to you? So as I mentioned earlier, there's a few different options if you're wanting to stay overnight at the actual festival. You can rent out a spot for your car and your tent if you want to camp out. You can pay for a very luxurious tent that's already been set up. You can stay in a camper van that's fully furnished with like a queen-size bed, I think. And then they also have cabins in like surrounding resorts. But the main thing I want to focus on is the camping part, because I feel like that is a huge part of like the Coachella culture, if you will. I can't tell you how many TikToks I've seen of someone claiming their camping spot, setting up tent, and making their tent look like a vintage shop that's about to charge you $80 for a ripped up t-shirt. But the camping spots are just that. It's a plot of, I would assume, grass where you just put up a tent and hang out there. So what about showers, toiletries, outlets to charge your phones, food, water? Where does all that stuff come in? And that's where some of the problems start. As you can imagine, there's a lot of people that attend Coachella, and there can't be a shower for every single person that attends. So what does that lead to? It leads to, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, hour-and-a-half long lines just to shower. Now, I grew up going to summer camps and trips where you'd have to wait in a large group to shower, and it is the most infuriating experience of all time. And that was only having to wait like 20 minutes. I can only imagine what it feels like to wait hours upon end. And there's a lot of dominoes that kind of keep falling. But okay, you waited in the shower line, you're all good, but you haven't had breakfast yet. What's the plan now? Well, you can go get some food. But remember, you're still at a festival, and there will be festival prices for those food items. The prices of simple things like water bottles and small food items have always been a joke with music festivals or just festivals in general because of how expensive they are. Because those places know that they are the only options in town, they can kind of dictate whatever prices they want. Because your options are paying $20 for chicken tenders and fries or not eating that day. And when you're in the desert and it's really, really hot, you might have to go with the $20 chicken tenders. Now, $20 is kind of exaggerating. There may be prices below or above that. But nevertheless, it's still ridiculously expensive just to get one meal in. And if you're camping there for 3 days and you didn't pack any of your own food, I'm sorry, man. Okay, well, whatever. You conceded to the $20 chicken tenders, you took your shower, but your phone's about to die. So what do you do now? Well, Coachella has these gigantic cubes, things, I'm trying to remember what they look like, covered in outlets so you can go charge your phone. But obviously they're not going to be right next to the campsite, so you got to walk a little bit, go charge your phone. But then you have to stay next to your phone because you can't have it getting stolen. So now you're thinking about how you should have had that shower after you ate and after you charged your phone because you're about to be spending another hour standing in the sun waiting for your phone to charge. And I could be remembering this wrong, but I distinctly remember seeing a TikTok of someone going to one of those cubes and it was out, like there was no power to it. So they had to charge it at an outlet at one of the like food stands or something, which is still crazy. And obviously you can circumvent this with getting like a generator, or bringing a portable battery or something like that. Just like you can circumvent paying exorbitant prices for food by bringing your own food. But what happens if you run out? What happens if your food goes bad? What happens if your generator stops working? It's gonna be a pretty hard weekend for you. And then on top of that, my head still can't wrap around the fact that people set up their tents so luxuriously and so like full of expensive items when it really is just that, a tent. Someone could just walk in and like, this is mine now. I don't know the exact rate of Coachella related theft that happens over there, but I would have to assume there's like a good amount of it. All right, so you're back at your campsite, you just ate, you took a shower, you charged your phone, you're in your new huge Coachella outfit, and you're about to go watch your favorite performers perform, but you just got a notification that you were late on your finance payment. How shocked would I be if I told you that 60% of Coachella attendees financed their tickets? Well, it's true. 60% of tickets were financed using, I believe it was Klarna Afterpay, the one that you can finance your box combo from Cane's with. It was used to finance a majority of the tickets that were purchased. And I'm sure other commodities like campsites or cabins or something like that were financed as well. The standard general admission for weekend 1 for this year's Coachella was $649 just starting off, and weekend 2 was $599. And again, that's without any kind of transportation, any kind of accommodation. No food is included in this cost. That's just the price to get in the door, compared to the price of $50 that was offered whenever the festival first started. Now, I'm not trying to say tickets should still be $50. That's kind of a dumb argument to make. The festival has obviously grown a lot since it started in 1999. But what I am saying is that for $650, you could at least you could give me a little something else. And what makes the price point even more strange and why so many tickets were financed is because Coachella mainly targets a younger audience. A lot of the artists that performed at Coachella were artists that are popular to people who are like 18 to 20 something. People like Charlie XCX, the Marias, Clairo again, Biba Doobie, Travis Scott. All these people have a majority audience of younger people. And there's not a lot of younger people that have a couple grand lying around that they can just go burn at Coachella. I live in Dallas, and the closest music festival to me of like a Coachella caliber is ACL. ACL has had very big names perform at that festival, and if I remember correctly, it was like $400 for one weekend with all of the headliners that were massive. So it wouldn't be unreasonable for Coachella prices to circulate around that area, but since it is Coachella, they kind of get to charge a little bit more just for having the name. And then, like I said, food and everything is not included, and because the only food options are in the festival, they can charge you whatever they want. I watched a video on Twitter of this guy cataloging everything that he ate and everything that he drank at Coachella and what the prices were. And every single drink that he had was $30 or more. Now, just to preface, I'm almost 20 and I don't drink, and I can't legally buy anything to drink, so I don't really know what like the average price of an alcoholic drink is. I'd sound like such a nerd right now. But $30 is a lot of money, which makes this whole weekend just cost an unrealistic amount of money to the average consumer, the average listener. Just because there's a Ferris wheel in the desert doesn't mean $700 is a reasonable price for one ticket. And at the end of the day, to the person with that much money and the person willing to spend it all, Coachella could be a great time. If it wasn't so hot. I made the joke of trekking through the desert at the beginning of the video for a reason, because that's exactly what you have to do to get around at Coachella. You are constantly walking from station to station, stage to stage, performer to performer, all the way from festival open to festival close, and even beyond that if you're seeing one of the late night performers. And on top of that, I see these people in these really like extravagant outfits, which are great. But I just can't imagine walking around in a desert with all those clothes on. Now, to be fair, I did check the weather for Coachella this weekend, and I think the highs are supposed to be in like the mid to high 80s. But still, it's not gonna be cloudy, you're gonna be walking a lot. It's still going to feel very hot. And the water is still probably like $8. Which is why you have people passing out at Coachella or passing out in mosh pits, is because it's so extremely difficult to make sure everyone's staying hydrated while they're walking around a desert with very expensive necessities. Now I know what you're gonna say, Henry, you can't just make a video of you complaining about Coachella without offering any alternatives or any fixes to any of the things you just listed. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I just hired myself as the Chief Officer for Change at Coachella. That is a real title that I definitely did not make up, and I'm starting right now. So what would I do about the issues? Well, let's go down them one by one. Number one, camping. To be honest, there's not a ton you can do about the camping situation. Camping is always going to be not great in just the middle of the desert without a lot of stuff around you. Obviously, adding more shower stations and outlets would help, but I think without reducing the amount of campers you allow to camp at Coachella, it's always going to be a sort of tight situation. But Henry, camping is like the whole part of Coachella. Where are people gonna stay? What are they gonna do? I don't know. I just started the job right now. Give me a break. I don't know what to do. But I do know if someone is camping at Coachella, you can at least offer them discounted rates on stuff like water, food, any other necessities, stuff like that. Just try to make the experience a little bit easier. Number two, cost. Coachella will survive if you lower the prices. Just because you can charge an amount for something doesn't mean you should. Coachella would be completely fine if tickets were like ACL level tickets, or even just like a little bit more. Coachella would be fine if it didn't cost a lot of money to stay at a camper van. And lastly, Coachella would be completely fine if food and drinks were not that expensive. Listen, I get it. You have to pay your artists, you have to pay your employees. There's a lot of money that needs to be moved around, but you can do that without making people sell their organs before they go to Coachella. You should not have people choosing between getting an education and seeing Charlie XCX perform live. That's just bad. You might be saying, Henry, it's supposed to be exclusive. It's supposed to cost a lot so that it's a premium experience. Shut up. I don't like you. And number three, conditions. Obviously, I'm not Mother Nature. I can't control the temperature of Coachella, and I can't control like the conditions surrounding that. But I do believe in combination with the previous two things I mentioned, conditions would get a little bit easier at least. Now, I've never been to Coachella, so I don't know 100% what it's like to walk around there, but maybe some more shaded areas, maybe some more just like rest stops, I don't know. Whatever works to keep people conscious and not on the ground. And I think without changes, not necessarily those in specific, but any kind of change to Coachella, it's gonna become so inaccessible that you and I may never get to go to Coachella. And that sucks because it is really cool. It's a really, really cool festival. But it just should not cost more than it did to reinflate my collapsed lung to go to Coachella. I think it's really all I have to say on that. Again, I have no beef with like any organizers or any performers of Coachella. I just think that it's getting a little out of hand. But I think that's gonna do it. Weekend 2 of Coachella starts tomorrow, I believe. I'm filming this the day before it comes out. And so we'll see how everyone fares over there. We'll see if it gets better or worse. I have no idea. But if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to do, I don't know, whatever. Comment how your day is going. Again, like I said, I upload every week about different music stuff. I talk about albums, I talk about artists, I talk about a lot of different stuff. Subscribing to the channel is the best way to help me. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. We just need a few hundred more and that would be crazy. So help me out and I'll love you forever. But until then, I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.